welcome back. Today I want to talk about a super important topic. One of the things people say to me all of the time is, you do so much. How do you have time for all that? And I get why they say that. I'm a consultant. I have a podcast. I teach at an accelerator. I'm active with my kids' activities in school. I mentor, I invest, I travel, etc. I travel a lot, actually. And it's true. I really do a lot of stuff. And I absolutely love that. So I want to talk about some of the philosophies and tactics that I use to stay so productive. Very first things that I want to talk about is taking control over your time. So I have come to learn that we have been conditioned to think that our time belongs to others. That when we work for a company, that means that they can dictate to every level of specificity what my day should look like. And it really wasn't until I started consulting and even several years into it that I really changed my perspective on this. The more individual clients I had, meaning I was working on for one client and a different project for another client. And so my time was divided up over a number of stakeholders. So the more of those that I had, the more that I realized how much I can determine what and when I do what I do. And that's really easy to do when you're a consultant and you have a varied range of clients. But I've realized since that I really didn't need to wait that long to figure this out. And the same is true for you, actually. No matter what it is that you do, whatever your career, whatever company you work for, you have the power to take control of your time, as I have done. What I'm describing is much less a behavior about how to manage time and much more a mindset. The truth is that you are choosing to do this work. You are choosing when you do this work. You are choosing how you do this work. The company is giving you parameters, absolutely, but you also have some liberties. And even if you choose to do it their quote unquote their way, still absolutely your choice. And I do want to be clear that I'm talking about people that are in a very privileged situation, as I am, and as I suspect you are as well, in that we have salaried jobs. We are not working hourly, as many people in the world are today, where they just don't have that flexibility. So I want to recognize that for many people, that isn't an option. But for those of us who are at a management level, who've been in their career for some time and who have the respect of the company in which we work, you are ultimately making a lot of choices and assumptions about what is being demanded of you and what you absolutely must or must not do, and when you must or must not do that. And so making that mental shift to understand that ultimately you are in the driver's seat is the very first step to taking control and ownership of your time. And this is true also at home. You don't have to do the dishes right now, unless they're driving you crazy, as they are for me usually. You don't have to go to an event with Mark and Mindy. You don't have to sign up to volunteer for XYZ. You may choose to do these things because ultimately they benefit you in some other way. But we are some grown-ass women. We can decide what and when and how. And for me, changing the way I think about that and really understanding that I have ownership and control over my time and the choices that I am making really made a big difference in the way that I think about my time and how I'm able to leverage my day. The second big thing that has had a huge impact in my productivity and my ability to do as much as I do is that I've also changed the way I think about time as a construct, if we want to get really crazy with this here, how I think about time and time blocks. It's a little bit of an extension of the last concept in that I have understood and appreciate that I am fully in control of my time and what I do. The next step to that is to understand that work is not predetermined and fixed in terms of hours, right? I think we've been socialized to think that we work from 8 to 6 or 9 to 5. Yeah, right. But 8 to 6. And that's when work gets done, and that's it, and period. And that personal life happens outside of that, period. But one of the positive things that came out of the pandemic is that we realized that actually time is fluid, and there's not really a right or wrong way to live over the course of your day. As long as you get done what you want to get done, time is yours to do with it what you want. For example, I take Friday afternoons off. I take 3 weeks off during the holidays, but as a consequence, I bust my butt in the spring and the fall. I try to take off the last Thursday and Friday of every month, but I also work some weeknights. I almost never work on Saturday. I just sort of decided that is the way I wanted to do things. But I often work on Sundays, and my work always gets done. And so I think it's important to recognize that you also have the power to rethink what a day looks like and what time is for work and what time is not for work. You just don't realize that you have that power. And I'm not obviously suggesting that you're going to ignore your work hours and what your company expects of you. If you need to be available to do your job, then you need to be available. But come at it from the perspective that you are choosing to do that. Whether it's because you know you need to in order to keep a job that you love, or because you need to so that you can support your family, or because you're saving up for that side hustle, or because you're not quite ready yet to quit and do something else full time, you are still making the choice to do that and make peace with that choice. But it does mean that you also have the power to set some boundaries. So as you're thinking about taking that ownership and that control for your time and rethinking what those time blocks might look like, you might want to reconsider what you want and then ask for it. And I'm not suggesting that you ask for anything unreasonable. You can't take off every Friday if that's not how your company works. And it does require that you deliver on the work that you do if you want them to listen. Obviously, are going to do that. And I know that my listeners are ambitious and they're, high performing workers. So I know that you can deliver on the work that you're doing, but that's a critical component of them being willing to listen to what it is that you're asking for and to offer that to you. And so understanding that you have that power and that you're able to ask for what you want really can empower you to get your time to work for you and not you to work for your time. The last thing that I'll say that I would add to the list of what has made me productive is that I have found ways to love the work that I do. And that is no small thing. As a consultant, I've had the opportunity to really hone in on the things that I do really well, and that makes it easier for me to do them more quickly. The better I have gotten at my job, the better I have honed my craft, the better I have been able to expedite the time that it takes for me to create an output that is worth its weight in gold, if you will. And that would be my last piece of advice to you is, as you're thinking about the way your day is spread out and the types of things that are pulling you into work, what are some things you can delegate or get off of your plate, whether because you've delegated or because you're talking to a manager or your team and finding other ways to get that work done? How do you focus less on that and more on the things you are really good at? How do you find your way back to the work that you love to do, the work that you are really good at, and continuing to develop that skill or sharpen that saw, continuing to find ways to be better, smarter, sharper on your expertise or of your expertise so that it feels like driving, right? If we think about what it is to drive a car these days, if you remember back to when you started driving, it required a lot of thinking, a lot of processing. And maybe this is top of mind for me because my teenager is learning to drive right now, but I can see that she's got to process a lot of information every time she's driving. Whereas for myself, I've been driving for 30 years, however long it's been now. And And I can technically do it in my sleep. I mean, a lot of times I'm driving and I'm not even actively thinking about all of the steps and all the motions I need to make in order for me to get to where I'm going. This is what you should be hoping to get to when you find that space of work that you love to do, that you're good at. You want to continue honing it and creating that muscle memory so that the work flows out of you really naturally and easily. And that really can help to reduce the amount of time that it takes you to do work. Now, granted, we can't get rid of all of the extra stuff, and that's okay. There's a time and place for all of that. But if you can get really good at the things you're good at and you love to do, that can really help ease up some of your time as well, and your time commitments to the work that you're doing. So I hope that some of this advice is helpful to you. I know everyone's journey in work-life balance and in managing your time and in being productive is very personal. But if even one of these was helpful to you, I'd love to hear about it. Or if you have some advice that I can share with our audience, I'd love to hear that as well. As you have heard, I do have a new course for folks who are looking to launch a consultancy called the Consultant Launch Course. And in that, I do go into a lot more detail about how to manage your time and productivity and a lot more related to starting your consultancy. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please do visit theclaritywizard.com/course. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And if you heard that, that's Oscar, my dog, who I think wants to go out and play. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you, and see you next time.